Emma thought her first apartment would be freedom. Instead, it became her nightmare. 3 knocks at 3 a.m. Not from her door, from inside the wall. Whispers from empty corners. Her keys moving overnight. Handprints on her bedroom window from the inside. Handprints too large to be hers. She told herself she was alone. But alone people don't hear breathing in silent rooms. They don't see tall figures watching from doorways. Emma learned the truth too late. She didn't move in. She was invited. Emma thought she had finally made it. 19 years old, fresh out of her parents' house, standing in the doorway of a cramped studio apartment 3 states away from everything she'd ever known. The walls were thin, the paint was peeling, and the radiator coughed like an old man dying. But it was hers. The first few nights passed in a haze of cardboard boxes and takeout containers. Emma slept on the hardwood floor, her body aching against the unforgiving surface, waiting for her mattress to arrive. The silence felt different here, heavier, like the building itself was holding its breath. She told herself it was just nerves, the natural anxiety of being truly alone for the first time. She was wrong. It started on the second night at exactly 3 a.m. 3 knocks from inside the wall beside her makeshift bed. Not gentle taps, but deliberate thuds that seemed to vibrate through the plaster and into her bones. Emma's eyes snapped open, her heart already racing before her mind could catch up. She pressed her ear against the cold wall, listening to the silence that followed. The building was old, she reasoned. Pipes settle, wood expands in the night air. The knocking stopped, and Emma eventually drifted back to sleep, though her dreams were filled with the sound of something trying to get in. The voice came the next evening, deep and gravelly, like sandpaper scraping against bone. It drifted from the far corner of the room where shadows pooled thickest. Emma's music was playing softly from her phone when she heard it, a low murmur that made her skin crawl and her teeth ache. She paused the music, straining to listen in the sudden quiet. There it was again, a man's voice, forming words she couldn't quite catch, syllables that seemed to stick to the air like smoke. She flicked on her phone's flashlight, the harsh white beam cutting through the darkness. The corner was empty. Of course it was empty. But when she turned off the light and settled back into the darkness, the whispering moved closer. Emma started keeping a mental inventory of everything. Where she placed her keys, how she left the bathroom faucet, which cabinets she'd opened. Because things were moving. Her keys migrated from the hook by the door to the kitchen counter overnight. The bathroom tap would turn itself on for exactly 3 seconds, then shut off with a decisive click that echoed through the small apartment. Cabinet doors crept open inch by inch throughout the day, like curious eyes peeking out to watch her every movement. She would close them, only to return from the bathroom to find them gaping open again, their dark interiors seeming to breathe with malevolent life. Then came the night that changed everything. Emma's eyes snapped open at 2:47 a.m., her phone screen glowing beside her with that specific time burned into the display. She never set alarms for that hour. She never woke up at that time. But there she was, fully alert in the suffocating darkness, every nerve in her body screaming that something was wrong. Her bedroom door stood wide open. She always kept it closed, always. The hallway beyond looked like a throat waiting to swallow her whole, and the kitchen light cast sickly yellow illumination across the floor. That light wasn't unusual. Emma kept it on every night, afraid of the complete darkness that seemed to press against her windows. But standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the pale glow, was a figure. Tall, unnaturally still, watching her with an attention that felt like ice water in her veins. Emma's breath caught in her throat, her body turning rigid with terror. She couldn't blink, couldn't move, couldn't even think about reaching for her phone. The figure didn't move either. It just stood there, patient as death itself, as if it had all the time in the world to wait for her to acknowledge its presence. When Emma finally fell back into unconsciousness, it felt less like sleep and more like drowning in black water. Morning brought no relief. The door was still open, the kitchen light still burning, casting everything in that same sickly pallor. But Emma was alone. Or was she? Throughout the day, her apartment seemed to breathe around her. Cabinet doors exhaled open whenever she left the room. Her phone launched itself from the counter while she showered, landing face down on the linoleum with a crack that spider-webbed across the screen like a broken smile. The knocking returned with the sunset, but it had evolved. 3 knocks from the wall, patient and methodical. then from the floor beneath her feet, vibrating up through the floorboards, then from directly behind her chair, so close she could feel the air move with each impact. Emma sits here now, typing these words with trembling fingers, her eyes bloodshot and rimmed with dark circles that look like bruises. Her head pounds with exhaustion, but sleep feels impossible. The knocking continues around her, patient and persistent, like something waiting for her to finally turn around and see what's been watching her all along. She always thought she was a rational person. Ghosts were for movies and campfire stories, not for cramped studio apartments with thin walls and dying radiators. But rationality doesn't explain the breathing she hears when she holds her own breath. It doesn't explain why her reflection in the bathroom mirror sometimes moves a second too late, as if something else is controlling it. It doesn't explain the handprints on the inside of her bedroom window. Large handprints, pressed against the glass from the inside of her apartment. Handprints that are far too big to be hers, with fingers that stretch impossibly long across the condensation. The knocking has stopped now. Emma's apartment is silent, but she's learned that silence can be the most terrifying sound of all. Because in this suffocating quiet, she can finally hear the truth that's been waiting for her to understand. She was never alone in this apartment. The previous tenant never really left. He's been here all along, watching from the corners, moving her things, trying so patiently to make contact. And now, as Emma feels the temperature in the room drop and sees her breath mist in the suddenly frigid air, she realizes something that makes her blood turn to ice. She wasn't the one who moved in. She was the one who was invited. And now that she's here, now that she's seen him, acknowledged him, he doesn't have to hide anymore. The apartment belongs to him. It always has. Emma was just a guest who overstayed her welcome.